Hello, welcome back to my channel. So, this is gonna be the what I'm reading in December video, cause I'm more prepared for that than for the talking about the arcs I read in November video. So that'll be something I record tomorrow with a nice lighting where it's, daytime. So you get the ultra dramatic, weird, middle of the night lighting for this one. So for December, I am doing the Reindeer Readathon. So far, that is the only readathon I've signed up for. There aren't as many. Anyway, I think everybody's gotten tired, and so there aren't as many available. But this one is competitive. I'm in Team Candy Cane. You're assigned teams. So I will have to look and see who's on my team. I haven't actually looked. Anyway, so for this one, there are prompts, and I've got my TBR worked out for those prompts. I also have the carryover books that I started and haven't finished yet, that I would like to be done with by the end of the year. So they're kind of automatically on December's TBR. The biggest one is probably Neverness. This is one that I finished enough of that I could use it for points for something where it was not something where the page count was important. For the great the Amazing Readathon. Oh my gosh, yes, that one. That readathon. That June readathon. Anyway, oh my gosh. Yes, it's been a while. Few readathons. Anyway, so I finished enough of it to count. So about 60% actually. Which meant that it was far enough along that I could DNF it and count it for things that didn't have to do with page numbers. But it's still not done enough for it to be unhauled. So I need to finish it. That one's actually one of the few that still is a carryover from that far back. So they've done a pretty good job of finishing off most of them. Then I have a carryover from last month, Ready for a Brand New Beat by Mark Kurlansky, one of my favorite micro-historians. So this one's actually zeroing in on a particular time period and the music that it's associated with it, and all the cultural stuff that's also changing along the same time. So it's kind of fun. The subtitle is How Dancing in the Street Became the Anthem for a Changing America. So this is a microhistory. This is a term that we're exploring at work. And this one is looking at this one song and, how it came about and the people that were recording it and how they came about. And, kind of pulling on all these threads that connect to this one core thing, in this case a song, and its dynamic in society. And we get a picture of society through the lens of this song. So it's kind of fun. Kurlansky also has done books looking at like world history through the lens of salt or from the lens of paper. Cod was one. So they're all sorts of different topics. And so you get a different perspective on history from each one. They're really cool. And actually the next one's also a bit of microhistory because it's the history of audiobooks. But in order to get history of audiobooks, we also get other stuff. But I think this one's more... I think I would still shelve it with the microhistories. But it's maybe a topical history and a microhistory, maybe somewhere on the edge between the two. I'm not a historian, so this is one of those terms that is used much more precisely when you're a grad student in history. I'm not, so I don't have to worry about being ultra precise, but it's still nice to know the precise definition, even if that's not how we use it every day. Anyway, so both of these are carryovers from November. I also have a biography or autobiography / memoir that's a carryover. This one I showed in my wrap up part 1, and it's sort of started, not a lot. So this one might end up just being restarted next year, but it's large print, and yeah, it's not that big, so it should be something I can finish in December and just be done with it. And then this one I have in an audiobook, Rocket Boys by Homer H. Hickam. This one is inspiration for the film October Sky. That's nice. Coming of age of the dawn of the 1960s and NASA and that kind of stuff. So similar era actually to the Kurlansky book. And then I have Noughts and Crosses, which I was going to read before I read The Ark by Ian Rankin. But then I just read The Ark anyway. So now I'm going back and reading book 1 in the Inspector Rebus books. And working my way up through the series. So this one I've been reading tonight and made some progress in. So those are my carryovers for December. All of them I've started already and are in various degrees of completion. Then I have books that I've borrowed that it would be nice to give back before the year's over. Like, I borrow books from people and they don't really care when I give them back, but every once in a while I borrow books from people and they're like, be sure I get this back, I really want to read it, or I really want someone else to read it, or whatever, which is code for don't take forever to read this book. So I've got Kill the Farm Boy by Delilah S. Dawson and Kevin Hearn, which is supposed to be absolutely hilarious. I have Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. See if I can get it without the glare. There we go, a little bit less glare. I have The Fabric of Civilization, How Textiles Made the World. Speaking of microhistories. And I have Shadow of the Sith by Adam Christopher, a Star Wars book. So those ones I'm reading, and if they fit any prompts, then that's great. But I haven't really looked at them for the prompts. I will consider them as I read them. But I'm reading them regardless of the prompts. And the ones that I've already started, I'm not going to worry about fitting them to prompts. I already started them. So that's already a considerable stack of books anyway. So there we go. Nice stack of books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 10 books that will count towards my Read What You Own challenge. Alrighty. And then we have the December reading game. So one of the things that I'm doing next year is I've put together lists of basically prompts, 12 in each column, and then I'm choosing a random number using a random number generator from the internet. And for the month, the number that's selected for each of those columns, that's the prompt for that month. And if there's a readathon, I'm going to be picking the teams by which one fits those prompts the closest. So let's say that I got the red book prompt. If there's a readathon that I'm going to be joining that happens to have red books as the color of books they get extra points for, that'll be my team. So that should be fun. But I'm trying it out for December. See if there's anything I want to tweak about it before the new year starts. So for this one, I rolled an 8, a 5, and an 8, which translates to books with buildings on the cover, books corresponding with an E or an F, either as the beginning of the title or as the beginning of the author's first or last name. And then the third one was, was something. Oh my goodness. Was something. Anyway, we'll start with those, and then I'll try and figure out what I was doing for my last prompt. Anyway, so E and F is the dominant thing that I was looking at when choosing books for December. That's really the one I want to test out. Like, how many books are we looking at for this? Is this going to be a silly way to sort my books? So I've got a few. I've got one of the Ian Fleming books I haven't read yet, You Only Live Twice. This one got sticky, so I have to clean it anyway. But I've read most of the Fleming books, so it'll be nice to get this one out of the way. I have Earth by Emile Zola, which has a double E, the title and Emile. I've got a bunch of Dick Francis books, so I'll get to do Dick Francis for December. And Emily Brightwell is the author of the Mrs. Jeffries series, so I get to do that one in December if I want to. And I know I can get a lot of the audiobooks for this series, so that's tempting. Andre Norton used a pen name, Enid Cushing, for her romance novel. So I will be reading Maid at Arms by Enid Cushing, also known as Andre Norton, so that I can get this one off my shelf. I'm not a romance reader, really not, but it's one of the Andre Nortons that I haven't gotten to yet, and it's not very long, and it probably won't take very long. I have R. Buckminster Fuller, Utopia or Oblivion, The Prospects for Humanity, which should be interesting. And a bunch more Dick Francis books. The Egyptian Cross Mystery by Ellery Queen. I have more Ellery Queen in the house, but I'm not sure I'm going to focus on them for December. They're not really mine, they're my housemates. But they're kind of auxiliary to my collection. So we'll see. I might read Ellery Queen more next year. I have more Dick Francis. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. This one's a carryover from my TBR for November that just happens to fit the brief for December. A First Person in America by Anne Banks, which I have no idea if it's any good. I got it off a free shelf years ago. Alrighty. I have Thomas Friedman, The World is Flat. We have several copies of this one at the bookstore where I'm working. So I kind of want to read this one just so I know if it's any good. I have The Godmakers by Frank Herbert. So Frank is a nice F name. See No Evil by Fiorella de Maria. The Demon of Dakar by Kjell Eriksen. Murder is in the Air by Francis Brody. Spanish Inquisition by Elizabeth Darrell. Another Frank Herbert, Soul Catcher. Entangled Life by Merlin Sheldrake. Emergence by Stephen Johnson. And Fiction 100, an anthology of short stories edited by James H. Pickering. This is one of those giant books that I was trying to get through this year. So, I will at least accomplish that. And then we have the books that I pulled for Reindeer Readathon that are not otherwise in the brief. This one is for a debut author, Evenings and Weekends. It also is an E. It is by Wazan McKenna. I think that's kind of how they say that name. It's an Irish name. I used to know how to say it. It's been a while. This is one that I got as an ARC at the beginning of the year. Have I read it? Obviously not. So I need to read this one anyway, and it'll work for that prompt. I have, let's see, a book where the cover contains one of the 4 words you see in the word search grid. Alright, so for the words in the word search grid, one of the first 4 words I saw was night. So I've got Walking into the Night by Olaf Olafsson. For Blitzen, choose 3 books that start with the same letter. Randomly choose one of them to read, which I did. I was doing R's, and out of Revolutionary Road, Revolution by Fire, and I don't remember the other one I ended up with. Anyway, it didn't get picked. The one that got picked was Revolution by Fire. So this is my R book, which is for Blitzen. Got the debut author. I've got book from an author you've already given 5 stars. So that one would probably be Grisham, The Reckoning. So there we have that one. Oh, but this one also ends on the correct digit, I believe. And no, it doesn't. Oh, it does. Yeah, that's the last page. So actually, this one I'm going to be using for Comet. Read a book that ends on the last digit of the day of your birth. For me, that would be a 7. So this one actually ends in a 7. That one was a tricky one. I had to look in quite a few books to find one. So Boris Akunin works for a book by an author that you've already given 5 stars. So this is Sister Pelagia and the Black Monk. And we have a book you didn't buy, which quite a few of the books that I've already showed work for that. especially the 4 that I need to read that I've borrowed. So I think that one will consider to already be behind me. A book where the synopsis mentions a named special event or a date. That one I'm probably going to look in the books that are already behind me as I'm reading to see if I have one that I like better. Because right now, and the title says German Inflation of 1923, which is definitely an event. It's got a name. But it's not in the synopsis. I don't know if this book has a synopsis. Really. Well, it kind of has one on the back. I don't know if I'd call it a synopsis. So that one's one that I'm going to be poking at the books as I read them and see if they fit that one. A book genre that you feel matches your favorite music genre. So I was thinking Josh Groban vibes. And for some reason, that felt like it would fit with a Graham Greene novel. I don't know if Josh Groban reads Graham Greene novels, but I could see him being into that sort of author. It's a similar sort of vibe in my head, anyway. And I do have one Graham Greene novel that I haven't read yet, The Human Factor. So I'll be reading that one. And then a book recommended to you on social media or a list recommendation. I've been reading the Boxall's 1001 Books You Must Read Before You Die list. And this one is on that list. So Snow by Orhan Pamuk is on my TBR for December. And it's got snow in it. So it's very seasonal. So that is my TBR for December. There may be others, because obviously the letter thing, there are other books in my collection guaranteed that fit the letter thing. But I don't feel like it's like all my books. So at least for the E and F, it's actually reasonable for a Jamie TBR. There may be others that I will swap in if I come across them and really want to read them. But unless it has a building on the cover or starts with E and F, either the title or the name, or gosh, what was that other one? It was a category. I don't know. Anyway, unless it fits the categories that I selected numbers for. What do I do with that notebook? Oh my goodness. If anyone thinks that I'm super organized when it comes to reading, I'm so totally not. Yeah, really not. This is me trying to make a more organized reading game and stick to it. Yeah. So somewhere in this room, there is a notebook that has my chart of all my prompts that I did roll and did get numbers, and I just don't remember the third one. So, yeah, so that's why we're doing this in December, because if that category is not terribly memorable, maybe it means it's not a good category for how I read. So I will be evaluating that kind of stuff, so that when I start in January, I can stick to it. So that's the plan anyway. And there may be a few sci-fi fantasy magazines in my TBR as well, because I do want to finish my collection of them so I can pass them on to my sister so she can read them, so that we can keep the ones that have really great stories that we want to keep, and the rest can go on to somebody else. Because they take up a lot of room for the fact that most of them I'll only want to read once, but some of them have, one or two fantastic stories that I want. So it's hard to know without reading them which ones those are. Yeah. So we'll see what my actual read books are each week. But I'm hopeful, because in November, I only read one novel in print. One out of the entire month. Even though I am notoriously bad at keeping to a TBR. I actually did read all arcs and nonfiction. And I mean, technically, there was one novelization that was basically nonfiction. Oh, the Perfect Storm, I think it was. No? Maybe. One of them was a novel, but it was a novelization of a nonfiction. Which one it was, I'm forgetting. I really am. Getting old, but that's amazing for Jamie. I don't stick to TBRs that closely. So whatever's happening, it's an interesting trend, and I want to explore it. So we're going to see if we can stick to a TBR in December. It's fairly open-ended in a way because there's so many ways that building on the cover can go. A lot of the books that I've already showed have buildings on the cover. There are many others that might also have a building on the cover. So that's the one thing I didn't really explore when putting together the books to show in this video that might add more books. And then that last category, which I can't remember what I picked. So I will let you guys know in the first weekly wrap-up what that category is, and whether it's changed any of my TBR in terms of making me read books you haven't seen yet. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to wrap this up so it can upload so you guys can see it. I am enjoying a glass of wine. This is my wine glass for the week, but I never end up opening the bottle on Wednesday anyway. So I'm doing it early. This one's got silver around the edge, which actually means that the rim won't chip as badly, because I think it is crystal. But usually when I get crystal from thrift stores, I have to watch for the chipping around the rim. This one's in good shape that way. The silver's tarnished, but it's a really thick silver, so that's really nice. Yeah, and I'm distracting myself from being productive watching videos about Kibbe body types and Kitchener essences. If you're a girl and you've done girly things on YouTube, you might have run into these things. Yeah, it's like being a silly girly type with sisters, but my sisters don't do this stuff, so I have to do it on YouTube instead. It's very sad. So I've been trying to decide what face type I have, like what my Kitchener essences are, and maybe I'll chat about that in the next video when I'm also chatting about the arcs that I read. We'll see. Yeah, see what you guys think about my face type. Because all the influencers in this topic are right about one thing. It's really hard to be objective about your own face or your own body shape. So you look at yourself like, is that curvy or pointy? I don't know. Yeah. So, yeah, another one of those things that Jamie does that it's totally not book stuff. Anyway. Weird. Anyway, I will talk to you guys in the next video. Let's upload this video and move on to more books. Talk to you soon, guys. Bye!